Now understanding the next question, and along with that, say we are going to understand the theory. Everybody is requested to pay attention. Let me explain the theory to you, and along with that, this question. This theory is not very well developed theory, so we do not have say too many numericals say with respect to this theory. We have very limited number of numericals, and with that say we are supposed to understand this theory. Everybody is requested to pay attention. Consider a three-factor APT arbitrage pricing theory model. The factors and associated risk premium are as under. Factor, it is of course the systematic risk factor, change in GNP, change in energy price, change in the long-term interest rate. Risk premium information is given to us. It is 5, -1 and 2. Calculate the expected rates of return on the following stocks. The risk-free rate of return is 7%. We have been provided with the 4 the questions. Now what is this APT arbitrage pricing theory? Let us understand. Everybody is requested to pay attention. As far as the arbitrage pricing theory is concerned, this theory has a kind of explanation in this way. Again, this theory says that we will compute the required rate of return as RF plus beta into risk premium plus beta into risk premium plus beta into risk premium and so on. Importantly, understand that say what does this theory say? This theory says that say there are number of systematic risk factors which are there in the market. Whatever these systematic risk factors which are there in the market, all of them do not have say the same influence on all the companies. They have different influence say on different companies. So whatever the companies which are there in the market, and whatever these systematic risk factors, each of the systematic risk factor does not have the same impact on all the companies. So what happens at say whatever the companies are there in the market, for each of the company we are required to make the computation of the beta factor for each of the systematic risk factor. Beta is required to be calculated for each of the systematic risk factor. That is what we understand. So let us say that say there are companies like A, B, C, D. These companies are there. So the first systematic risk factor is having how much impact on company A, on company B, on company C, on company D. Like that, say the calculation will be made for the beta. Then for second systematic risk factor, what kind of impact it will have so on the first company, second company, third company, fourth company is required to be identified. Same is the third one, like that say so on. You are required to make the computation of the systematic risk factor, that is the beta for individual systematic risk factor. After making that calculation, so we should make the computation of required rate of return. So what will happen? So you will be having the required rate of return as RF plus beta into beta of the individual systematic risk factor. So suppose we are doing answer for A company, for example. Then beta for the first factor, beta for the second factor, beta for the third factor, and so on, whatever the number of factors that say you are quantified. For each of the systematic risk factor will compute the beta into risk premium for the first factor, risk premium for the second factor, risk premium for the third factor. That is the way we are supposed to make the computation of the required rate of return. What kind of argument that APT has made? APT has made an argument that each of the systematic risk factor does not have same impact on all the companies. Each of the systematic risk factor have the different impact on different companies. That is the reason there is a necessity to compute the beta for the individual systematic risk factor. So first of all, we will calculate answer for this question and then I'll dictate you a note for this. In the first question, the question says that a stock means a security whose return is uncorrelated. Uncorrelated means R is equal to 0. And if at all R is equal to 0, then of course beta is 0. Because beta is say, requiring R. And if at all R is 0, then the beta is of course 0. With all the three factors. So we understand that's the answer of the first question. In that, required rate of return is equal to RF plus beta into risk premium, beta into risk premium, beta into risk premium. What is risk-free rate of return? It is 7%. 0 into 5, 0 into -1, 0 into 2. This is the risk premium. Suppose it is 7 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0. So overall it comes to 7%. This is the way required rate of return is calculated. Second part of the question. A stock means a security with average exposure to each factor. That is beta is 1 for each. So friends, whenever the question says that it is average exposure, then in that case you are required to take beta as 1. Okay. So we will compute the answer for the second question like this. I request all of you to write down answer along with me. Required rate of return is equal to RF plus beta into RM, that is risk premium, for factor 1 plus beta into risk premium for factor 2 plus beta into risk premium for factor 3. So what is risk-free rate of return? It is 7 plus 1 into 5, 1 into -1, 1 into 2. So 7 plus 1 into 5 is 5. 1 into -1 is -1. 1 into 2 is 2. So 7 plus 5, 12. 12 minus 1 is 11. 11 plus 2, that comes to 13. That is the way the required rate of return is calculated. Third question. A pure play energy stock means a company which is dealing into that's a specific segment with high exposure to the energy factor, that is 2. Okay, so for the energy it is beta 2, but zero exposure to the other two factors, means beta is 0 for the other two sectors. And with that, so we are required to make the computation of required rate of return. So answer for the third part of the question. Required rate of return is equal to RF plus beta into risk premium. Beta into risk premium. Beta into risk premium. So it is 7 plus. What is beta? Beta is 0 for the first one. Risk premium is 5. Beta is 2. And risk premium is -1. Again beta is 0 into risk premium is +2. So 7 plus 0, 2 into -1 is -2. 0 into 2, that is 0. So 7 minus 2, that comes to 5%. This is the way required rate of return is calculated. Fourth question. An aluminum company stock with average sensitivity. Average sensitivity means beta 1 to the changes in the interest rate and GNP. Okay. So for the first one and the last one, beta is 1. negative exposure, highlight the portion negative exposure of beta 1.5 to the energy sector. I'm sorry, energy factor. The aluminum company is energy intensive and it suffers when the energy price rises. So they have explained it to us that why does it have negative beta. Okay, so we are required to make the computation of the answer like this. Answer for the fourth question. Required rate of return is RF plus beta into risk premium for first factor, beta into risk premium for second factor, beta into risk premium for third factor. RF is 7 plus for the first one and the third one beta is 1. So this is 1 and this is 1 into 5 and into 2 and it is negative 1.5 into negative 1. So what will happen? It is 7 plus 5 plus 1.5 because negative will become positive plus 2. So 7 plus 5 is 12, 12 plus 2 is 14, 14 plus 1 is 15, it is 15.5%. That is the way we will make the computation of a required rate of return. So now we understand that the answers are over and now we are going to write a note for this. Heading right down APT. Arbitrage Pricing Theory. Friends, just one more point that I would like to tell you over here is that this theory is not very successful because of the reason that it sounds really very good to understand this concept. That say the individual security has the different impact for the individual systematic risk factor. That's very true. However, to quantify that is very difficult. What would be the impact of only this change on this particular company? Like that, say for each of the systematic risk factor, so you compute beta, it is like not possible at all. That is the reason say this theory is not very developed, and that is the reason say we have very limited number of questions for this theory. So I request all of you to write down answer along with me. Friends, one more thing that just I want to add. This theory is used similar to the CAPM because again it is say able to find the required rate of return. So whatever the use that we have of the CAPM, exactly the same use is there of the EPT. The only thing is that say it is not very easy to apply this theory. Otherwise the application of this theory is similar to the CAPM, wherein once again the risk is measured in form of systematic risk beta. Write down a note for this first point. APT is measuring risk in form of only systematic risk. That is beta. Second point, importantly, over here, risk is measured in form of beta for each systematic risk factor. full stop. An argument is made that each of the systematic risk factor has different impact on each security. Full stop. Third point, required rate of return as per APT, Arbitrage Pricing Theory, is calculated as under. In that write down, required rate of return is equal to RF plus beta into risk premium plus beta into risk premium plus beta into risk premium and so on. RP stands for risk premium. Fourth point, in that write down, it is very difficult to calculate beta for each systematic risk factor. Full stop. So this theory gives good explanation. However, it is difficult to apply practically. Full stop. So friends, over here, summarizing the entire answer, required rate of return is calculated taking into account the RF, beta and risk premium. We have been provided that say the different kind of beta, and based on that say we are required to find the required rate of return say for the individual stocks. This is the way say we are required to apply the formula, and we may be provided even more number of factors, then accordingly we are required to take the number of factors to compute the required rate of return.